Hi, and welcome to this midweek episode of the IVMV podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Corey, and joining me is Andy. How's your week treating you, Andy?
Hey, pretty good. Thanks.
Good. You're on your summer break.
Yep.
Just enjoying evening baseball.
Yeah, living large.
I see you're growing the summer beard.
Yeah, I'm
Makes-
shaving a
definitely
little
makes-
less frequently, and that's pretty nice.
Definitely makes sense. When that temperature gets up into the mid 90s, grow a beard.
Time, time to be a lumberjack. Get out the flannels.
Oh man. Well, it's been a fairly eventful few days for the Cubs. They added a big name in the bullpen and drafted another crop of young players. We're going to talk about those things as well as Jacob Turner starting his rehab stint with Tennessee and a few other things. First, Andy and I will be in Peoria this Sunday night for the South Bend Cubs Peoria Chiefs game, and I know that some other IVMV listeners will be there. So let's go ahead and call it a meetup. Let's do that. So if you're there and you don't see us, shoot me a tweet at IVMV or message us on Facebook or something like that, and we'll connect. It is Javier Baez bobblehead night, so that's pretty cool. It's too bad they couldn't get him to show up. I mean, he's probably got nothing else to do. So, I mean, I'm just saying that was not meant to be a slam at all. I was just saying, he is just injured. So, I don't know. Maybe he'll be there.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm getting my hopes up for that.
He's going to make an appearance at a Cardinals affiliate stadium just for the. Although that is kind of cool. I mean, even the Peoria Chiefs, even though they are a Cardinals affiliate now, I mean, they have a long history with the Cubs, and so there's they still do a lot of not a lot, I guess I shouldn't say, but I guess this Javier Baez bobblehead night did not surprise me. They definitely like to kind of remember the great Cubs players that have gone through there and stuff. So should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing South Bend. I was hoping to get to Burlington on Friday, but I don't think I'm going to make it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was perusing the 2014 draft class of the Cubs, and I saw sitting there in round 15 was Jeremy Knoll, pitcher out of Western Carolina, who's having a good season with South Bend. It'd be cool if we could see him, but that's always, you can always count on that with the rotation.
Yeah, I haven't really looked ahead to see who we might see. Knoll was an all-star, wasn't he? I think he was named to the Midwest League All-Star game, which is in Peoria, by the way, on June 23rd. So the only reason I know that date is because I will not be in town. Otherwise, I would try to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's kind of start things off here with the Cubs' attempt to strengthen the bullpen. The Cubs signed free agent Rafael Soriano. I'm looking forward to seeing a Soriano in Cubby Blue. Take me back to the good old days. So the deal with Soriano is he's a closer with a lot of experience. This is his 14th season, and he has 207 career saves. He's 35 years old, so obviously on the backside of his career. Combine his age with the fact that he had a pretty rough season last year, especially the second half of the season. And those are the reasons that he's been sitting there in free agent no man's land, I guess, here for the first few months of the 2015 season. So how bad was last year? Well, pretty bad. His ERA in the first half of the season was 0.97, pretty damn good. And his ERA in the last half of the season was 6.48. Pretty damn bad. So definitely a big difference there. In the first half of the season, batters were hitting 153 off of him, and in the second half, 299. So, yeah, pretty rough. He lost the closer's role in the second half of the season. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to Soriano last season, but I suppose it's possible that as he's getting older, he maybe just ran out of gas in the second half of the season. So maybe taking a few months off to start the 2015 season, maybe by doing that, he can save some of those bullets for the second half of the season.
Bullets.
Yeah. it's worth a risk. I mean, Soriano and Joe Madden, they're familiar with each other. Soriano pitched for the Rays in 2010. This is a incentive heavy deal, so he's got a $4.1 million base salary, and then about $4 million in incentives based on games finished and appearances. So it really is kind of a low risk move for the Cubs. He'll be in the minors for a while, and it'll be interesting to watch how he does there. But
did you happen to read anything into the fact that it was a minor league deal rather than a major league deal?
uh, I mean, I don't think it's like, oh, we'll see if he can make it up to the majors. To be honest, I'm not sure. I wonder if maybe they needed to do that to be able to start him off in the minors.
Yeah. I saw some speculation today online that maybe his workout wasn't that great, and that's why he ended up with a minor league deal to try to kind of continue to improve or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. I didn't read anything about it. But I think that well, I think two things to take away from it. I think the Cubs are willing to. I mean, we've seen them take pitchers that they're buying low on pitchers. They've done this frequently, and then kind of see what they can do with them. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And the nice thing about it when it doesn't work out is that it is a low risk move. It's not a ton of money, and you can just kind of move on. I think another thing is that it's. I don't think we're done seeing the Cubs attempting to strengthen the bullpen. I think this is going to be kind of an ongoing thing here for the next couple of months that we're going to see that type of stuff.
Yeah, and then I mean, there also, there are pitchers like Neil Ramirez who's rehabbing, so it stands to reason that they're going to have some options going forward, and that they're going to also look for other ways to make it better. So,
yeah. So, yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting to see, how he does in the minors, and see if he can. I think he'll be there for a while, and I think based on I think you kind of have to look at like, okay, he was absolutely terrible in the second half of the season, but he was really good in the first half, and so if the Cubs can kind of find that Soriano, and that would be a great addition come mid-July, or heading into kind of the second half of the season. I think that would be a really, because if you think about, I think they're going to naturally get some help in the bullpen. We're going to talk about Jacob Turner here in a few minutes, but I think with, like you said, Neil Ramirez and potentially Jacob Turner having some impact probably on the pitching staff in general, but possibly the bullpen. I think we will see a stronger bullpen in the second half of the season.
No doubt.
So since our last episode, the MLB draft has taken place. The Cubs had the 9th pick, a decent spot, but not the exciting top spots that they've had the last few years. So Andy, why don't you tell us about the first few picks and then kind of summarize the Cubs' strategy in this draft?
Sure. First of all, today on the Onion Sports Network, I saw a funny article that said, report 87% of Americans unaware they have been chosen in later rounds of MLB draft.
There's a lot of like executives' sons drafted.
Yeah.
I wonder how come. I wonder if I should maybe know this. Has there ever been a woman drafted? I mean, a lot of those deals are just, like I said, executives' kids and stuff like that. I wonder if there's a rule that, I don't know. I should know that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'll cut that out. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It seems like, obviously they draft people knowing they're not going to be signed, or they're not going to sign. So why wouldn't they?
And the executives, box turtle Slick was drafted in the 40th round by the Houston Astros. No, but I mean, if listeners have paid attention to, the drafts the past couple of years, they're going to notice that there's a lot in common with this year's picks. I mean, the Cubs picked in a similar fashion to 2014. And their focus seemed to be that they would go with the best available player early in the draft, and then they would switch their focus to stockpiling pitchers as the rounds go on. In 2014, 14 out of the 40 picks were high school players. And in rounds 2 and 4 through 12 last year, they picked pitchers. In 2015, 10 out of 40 picks were only 10 out of 40 picks were high school players. So it was pretty college player heavy. And they picked pitchers in rounds 3 and 5 through 9. But one big difference you'll notice if you look at this group of arms they picked up is they went for some high upside high school pitchers after their first couple of picks last season. And most of the pitchers that they picked in, like 5 through 9 were college arms. So looks like they're trying to really go for guys that are going to be able to have an impact perhaps a little bit sooner than some of the players that they picked last year. Their first pick over number 9 overall in the first round was Ian Happ. And he played for Cincinnati. He played his junior year in 2015. He's a switch hitter. And he hits a little bit better from the left side. He has power from both sides, but apparently a little bit more from the left side. He's a pretty highly touted college bat. Many thought of him as one of the best college bats available. There were a couple taken before him, but he was one of the best college bats available. And it stands to reason that, like a Kyle Schwarber, for example, he should have a fairly quick path through the minors. The only problem is that he's one of those guys that it's kind of hard to peg where he'll end up playing on the field. He played mostly second base and outfield in college, but his ability to stick at second base is doubtful. On the MLB.com write-up, they described him as that he lacks smooth infield actions and hasn't played regularly on the dirt since his freshman year and fits best on an outfield corner. But I kind of got a kick out of that. He lacks smooth infield actions. So it's tough though. Like if he's the kind of guy that projects to end up in an outfield corner, that's the new, like, what are we going to do with all these corner outfielders is kind of the new, what are we going to do with all these shortstops question.
Right. But I mean, there's also, we're kind of at the stage in the Cubs system right now, or, on the Cubs track where they could be, that could be somebody that they're drafting with the intention of trading away for maybe a pitcher or something like that. I mean, at this point, you're almost just kind of stockpiling talent and continuing to. They're doing it through trades, and now, and obviously the draft. And I think we've kind of seen over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen the Cubs drafting with the intention of these are going to be kind of the cornerstone pieces of what this organization is going to look like. But we have to remember that they very well could be drafting just, hey, you know what? He's the best college bat available. We're going to take him. And if we don't have room for him, then we'll use him to get something that we have a need in.
Well, and here's the other way that people are spinning it too, is that the Cubs seem to really value versatility lately.
Sure,
and that these are the type of players that they could perhaps turn into a Ben Zobrist-esque player, where they don't necessarily play any position really well, but they can fit in just about anywhere and play competently. So Happ and their next pick in the draft, their second round pick, Donnie DeWeese, also kind of fit that profile. So that's something that possibly they are doing on purpose, is looking for versatility. But anyway, back to Happ just briefly. I mean, the dude hit 369 in 2015, but maybe even more impressive, he had a 469 on base percentage. It's just obscene. And his power really seemed to kind of come along nicely compared to his freshman and sophomore years, as he hit 14 homers in 2015. And so along the same lines, this Donnie DeWeese guy they picked in the second round, he's a left-handed outfielder. He broke his wrist and barely played last season, but he came roaring back for his junior year. In 60 games last season, Donnie DeWeese hit 422. His on-base percentage was 483. Slugging 749. That is...
I mean, it is important to remember that.
Yes, the pitching that he faced in his league, and I'm trying to remember what league he was in, but it's not super strong compared to other conferences. It's the Atlantic Sun Conference, so it's not like he's facing the best pitching out there, college wise, but still, I mean, for him to put up those numbers is impressive, and as a D1 player. So so 483 on base percentage, 749 slugging. Kind of similar to Hap. He can play all outfield spots, but he has apparently a below average arm. So once again, a guy that probably projects to play a corner outfield spot. But we'll see. It's not like he can't play center. It's just that his arm could be a little bit of a liability.
Yeah, I'm first off, I was so excited. I love the name Donnie Deweese. That was
yeah. I foresee a lot of levity if he sticks with the Cubs organization based on that last name. First of all, Donnie.
I know that's
out of your element, Donnie.
I know we haven't had a Donnie since Donnie Murphy.
Donnie
right?
baseball. Yeah, Donnie Murphy.
Yeah. So the organization's been lacking in Donnies. So.
I'm just trying to restock the farm, the Donnies in the farm. Let me check and see if any other Donnies were picked here really quickly. And yes, 37th round, they picked up Donnie Cimino. So they are trying to make sure that they get plenty of Donnies back in the fold.
Oh, man. More Donnies.
You can't go wrong with Donnies.
Oh. I can see somebody holding a sign at Wrigley. More Donnies, less Starlins.
Less Johnny baseballs. More Donnies.
Yep. Well, yeah. So obviously, I kind of feel like I paid less attention to this draft this year just because the Cubs didn't have quite such a good spot in the draft. And over the last 2 or 3 years, it's just been, well, at this point of the season, the Cubs have been out of it. And so that's pretty much what there has been to get excited about is, let's see, who are they going to take number 6 or number 3 or whatever. So this is kind of the first time where it's like, I'm enjoying the major league team and I don't feel the need to like obsess quite as much over the draft.
Yeah, and that's pretty nice.
Yeah. So anything else you wanted to add about the draft?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it just like I said, one of the main differences I see after the first couple of picks is last season the Cubs picked up that trio of high school arms, Carson Sands, Justin Steele, and Dylan Cease. This time around, they went for more college pitchers as they got into trying to stockpile some pitching after their third pick, which was Brian Hudson out of Alton High School in Illinois. So after they made him their third pick there, 5 through 9 are all college pitchers.
Cool. And I mean, that can really change. I mean, like the timing of everything with college pitchers is a lot more interesting because you can draft somebody that could impact the team like very shortly. I don't know anything about these players, but that is something that's kind of interesting about drafting college arms.
And it seems like a lot of really great pitchers, come out of the middle, and maybe even sometimes the later rounds. I mean, and not always those top most heralded pitching prospects work out. Yeah. So I don't mind the Cubs approach. I mean, a lot of people are decrying them not going after Brady Aiken, who was still available when the Cubs picked up Hap. I think that the Cubs seem to, in my expert opinion, I think their approach is pretty good. Get the first few picks, grab the best players available, and then just start grabbing pitchers, and we'll see who pans out. I mean, like we noted from the 2015 draft, one of the stronger picks that they made looks like it might be Jeremy Knoll. who was round 15.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you really have to trust this front office and the scouts that they have, and just how they evaluate players and everything. Because look what they've done over the last couple of years. I mean, it's of course when you have the number 3 pick, you can't really. Well, I guess you can go wrong. I mean, but I don't know. I really kind of trust this front office that they know what they're looking for, and they know what their needs are and what their plan is. So I don't really find myself second guessing them in the draft very often.
No.
One other development in the last few days is that Jacob Turner has returned or has started his rehab stint. He pitched for Double-A Tennessee on Tuesday. Turner was, if you don't remember, he was in the mix for that 5th starter spot in spring training. But then during spring training, he was put on the DL with a minor flexor strain and a bone bruise. So in his game on Tuesday, he went 4 innings, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits. He struck out 4 and walked 1. I saw that John Arguello from Cubs Den, he reported that Turner was looking very sharp. He kept the ball down, had good command, and threw a few nasty breaking pitches. That's what John had to say about his outing. To be honest, I'm not real sure how long he can stay in the minors on his rehab stint. I know that they were able to keep Wada down in Iowa for quite a while, maybe 5 starts. Seems like it was somewhere in there.
Sounds right.
So Turner is out of minor league options. So he has to be on the 25-man roster or the disabled list. Otherwise, he has to clear waivers. So I think what the Cubs will probably do with Turner is just keep him rehabbing as long as they can, unless there's an urgent need for him, and then look at. He could, if he could pitch out of the bullpen if Wada's pitching well, or he could slide into that number 5 spot if he's needed to. So I think he just kind of brings a little bit more depth to the pitching staff and gives them a little bit of flexibility and another option in case someone goes down with injury.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I really like Jacob Turner's stuff, and I think he could be a really great pitcher. And I would love to see him end up in the Cubs rotation at some point in the future. When I mentioned that to you and Kurt, you guys kind of poo-pooed that a little bit.
Well, I just kind of like the idea of having a lefty in the rotation. So I don't know. I kind of don't. Oh wait, Lester's a lefty. What the hell?
You mean other than Lester?
Yeah, I'm gonna cut that out so I don't sound like an idiot. I was thinking like the back into the rotation. I'm like, well, there's Wada, but if you take him out, then you don't have the lefty.
Could say more than one lefty.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I kind of like, I do like the idea. I like Wada, but I would not be opposed. I mean, if Wada starts, if his inability to go deeper into games kind of becomes a liability, and puts too much strain on the bullpen, or if he's just not being effective, in general, then I have no problem with Turner sliding in there if he's pitching well.
Yeah, and you made a good point too earlier today about how you don't like the pitching staff to be so right hand heavy, I guess.
Yeah. Plus, I want to see Don Roach in there, another potential Donnie. I mean, he could go by. Could work another Donnie in there. That would get him pulled up real quick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he needs to add that Y or IE, whatever he prefers.
He's got 2 ends, so you might as well. Maybe Don is short for Donnie. That could be his given name. Anyways, so that's what's going on with Turner. I would think it's going to be a little while. I mean, yeah, they left Wada down as long as they possibly could, and it just kind of seemed like things fell into place and they pulled him up. And so I kind of think that's what their plan will probably be with Turner, is no need to rush him. You don't really have a spot for him right now, like an urgent need for him right now. So wait until you do have that urgent need, or wait until he's pitching so well he forces your hand. But I think it's 5 starts. I'm not positive though. I mean, you can't just leave him down there.
Right. Well, I mean, of course, rumors are floating around that the Cubs are looking to make some more trades or moves, and one of
Yeah.
these guys could ultimately end up somewhere else.
Right. Yep. Uh, so Andy, any comments? Well, right now we're recording this Wednesday evening. The Cubs and Tigers are playing the second game of this 2-game series, and
A couple nail biters this series.
yeah, right. Well, right now, I don't know. You're probably not able. You're not
Oh,
watching it right
I
now.
just looked. I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah,
Last I looked, the Cubs were up 6-0. But
yeah. It's now 6-3 in the seventh. So, any comments on this series?
well, geez, I mean, yesterday's game, the first game of this 2-game set with the Tigers was really depressing. And a lot of it was due to Lester's struggles, and people are making a lot out of Lester struggling and not pitching up to expectations and things like that. And I don't know. I'm not worried yet. I think that I'm not worried, but I am frustrated that he hasn't even really come close to pitching up to expectations. I'm frustrated that the best pitcher on in the rotation is Jason Hamill, right now. But some of his stats, I think if you take a deeper look, they also indicate that we shouldn't be as worried, or we shouldn't be as worked up as we are about it. His BABIP is inflated, for example. He is getting. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say Lester's here for a while,
Yeah.
and I think it's way too quick. I mean, people are kind of freaking out about Lester, and I don't think. I mean, as far as yesterday's game goes, like he did not pitch that well. Then again, he wasn't going like the Cubs didn't score, so I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter, I guess. But you don't want to see the ace of the staff pitching. Like really, we kind of seen him pitch at times. At times he's looked really good, and then at times not so good. So who knows? There could be some lingering, might be a little bit of dead arm left in there or something.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, and then he was matched up against Anibal Sanchez, and it appeared to be a game that was looking like it would be quite a pitcher's duel. And maybe the pressure of something like that got to him a little bit too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway, he'll.
Yeah.
I think we'll see him get better this season.
Yeah. So we did get a few listener emails. This one comes from Tobin, and he asks, "Is it too early to start asking questions about Lester's performances?"
I don't think it's too early to start asking questions. I just think it's a little bit too a little bit too early to go into knee-jerk internet muscle flex mode.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we can start the discussion about it and, have an intelligent conversation about it. But just to start flaming him on the internet, I think is ridiculous. And to start wringing your hands even is too early.
Well, and I would even say that, I mean, I don't even know if it is worth asking questions about it right now. I mean, let's see. He hasn't even pitched, like he's pitched a third of his first season of his contract. And he hasn't been absolutely terrible. So I don't know. I just want to see more before I start throwing out Edwin Jackson comparisons,
which have been made.
Right. Yeah.
Already.
Yeah. We have another question here. It is a voicemail, so I'm going to play that right now.
Hey guys, I was just wondering the contract, David Ross's contract, because hopefully it's 1 year. He's fine behind the plate, but when it comes to batting, I think Joe Madden could hit the ball better than him. Thanks.
What do you think? Can Joe Madden hit the ball better than David Ross, Andy?
Well, I think David Ross, he almost got his first homer yesterday, and he got robbed with a pretty amazing catch in center field. But I think he's a little bit better hitter than people realize.
Better hitter than his 157 average.
Yeah. Not much, but yeah. I mean, he has warning track power.
Right. Which is more than either of us have.
But anyway, his
Put
contract,
together.
he has a 2-year, $5 million contract. So
Right. So he's on board for the next 2 years. And I mean, I don't think, you're not looking for a lot of offensive production from your backup catcher.
right. As we noted last week, he's one of the best pitch framers in the game. So he brings a lot in that department as a defensive player, and then also his leadership qualities have been noted, and his clubhouse presence have been noted as being particularly good. And we saw some of his desire to win, his competitive spirit, as he basically won the game the other night with that snap throw to first. So,
right.
I like having him on the team.
Yeah. So your backup catcher is basically there to give your starter a night off, and usually it's like in this situation, it's Lester's personal catcher. So you're assuming that not only forget the fact that he's great behind the plate and an excellent pitch framer and receiver and everything like that, but also Lester obviously feels comfortable with him there, and so Lester probably pitches better with David Ross back there. And really, I mean, it's a 2-year deal worth $5 million. So $5 million sounds a lot to all of us, or I'm guessing all of us. If there's a listener out there if there's a listener out there that $5 million does not sound like a lot to, you can go to patreon.com/IVMV. So, I mean, that's why he's there. And if you look back over the years of backup catchers that the Cubs have had, there have been a lot of catchers that have essentially no offensive production. I mean, go back Coy Hill. The one that I hated the most was Paul Bacco. So it's just that's what a backup catcher is. They're not there to hit the ball. They're there to catch it, and he's very good at that. And I can't speak to whether or not he's a better or worse hitter than Joe Maddon. It could be close. I'll say that. Rory from San Francisco says, "Hey fellas, as I enjoy the last few innings of today's game," and he emailed this a couple days ago, "I'm struck by an emerging pattern. The 2015 Cubs are playing up to the league's winningest teams and down to the basement dwellers. I'm not sure whether to be more encouraged or discouraged by that trend, and I imagine it's a byproduct of the young roster. But it's been going on seemingly the whole season, so Corey can't play the small sample size song on this one. I suppose the good news is, if this pattern persists, the Cubs will rack up wins during their brutally competitive schedule between now and the All-Star break." I kind of wonder, it definitely seems like that's the case. However, I think that that's one of those things that kind of feels like the case for most baseball teams. I work with a Cardinals fan, and that's something that he talks about with the Cardinals, is that they seem to play the good teams really well and then can't beat the bad teams
Don't they think all teams are bad?
That's true. That's true. But I think that that's kind of one of those things where you assume that the team should, sweep. You think sweep instead of series win. But on the other hand, the Cubs have, I mean, look at how they've played the Brewers this year. And the Brewers, record-wise, are a terrible team. And we wanted to see the Cubs play well against the Marlins, and they didn't necessarily play as well as we had hoped. And same thing with the Rockies, right? I think. Yeah, I think
so. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of some of these bad or worse teams that they've played, and the Cubs just don't seem to do that well against. But I think there's a lot of variables or whatever. I think there's a lot of things that play into that.
But he's right. I mean, I would love to see them, the rest of the way to the All-Star game, kind of live up to this potential or possible pattern and playing up to these teams that they're going to be playing here. And
Right.
maybe that will help them get some momentum to just really kind of muscle through whatever the competition they have going forward in the second half.
Yeah, I think ideally, I look at if the Cubs can play this really tough schedule here for the next, month, basically, if the Cubs can play well and over the course of that month, kind of pick away at that Cardinals lead. I mean, if the Cubs could get within, like, let's say 3.5, 4 games, or less by the All-Star break, and kind of hit that period where it looks like the Cubs are going to get a little bit healthier, then hopefully they're going to get some players back and they can kind of like get their second wind. And oh my gosh, I'm watching the Tigers Cubs game. Gorzelani pitches for the Tigers. I had no idea.
I just saw that too. I was going to say something because I got kind of excited when I saw his name pop up there.
So I think it would be great to see. And if they can get through, I mean, you look at right now, they're playing in an American League ballpark, and their designated hitter is Mike Baxter, who's actually played really well tonight. But that shows you how weak and banged up this bench is. And I think if the Cubs can actually play up to the competition, play well over the next month, and then get healthy, I think that bodes well for their chances later in the season.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we got an email here. I got a real kick out of this. So we're going to end this episode with an email from Adam, and he is from Knoxville, Tennessee. He says, hello, Corey. Greetings from Knoxville, Tennessee. Hope all is well in Knoxville, Illinois. Okay, so he says, I was wondering if you might spend some time discussing the previously unknown team stat known as BAM. So, there's all sorts of measurements and metrics and everything going on right now, and new ones being developed and everything. And so this one is BAM, Biased Achievement Metric. He said, this is an entirely made up stat that works as follows. For each team, add up the number of home runs by players with 2 Z's in their last name, and then subtract the number of games played by players whose last name ends in Y. And then he has how the National League would appear through today. So the Cubs are leading the National League with 11. Of course, they would benefit from having Rizzo in the lineup. The Rizzo's home runs. So they have 11. They're the only team with a positive number there. Washington has 0. And then all the way at the bottom, you have St. Louis with negative 107. So let's see. That would be like John Jay. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know. Anyways, they apparently have Holiday. There you go. They apparently have a lot of players whose name ends in Y, and nobody hitting home runs with players with 2 Z's in their last name. So
Matt Carpenter.
So I guess, as you can see, any stat that puts the Cubs at the top and the Cardinals in the bottom, on the very bottom, that's something that deserves a little more attention, I think. And Adam, you may want to send that off to
Baseball
Prospectus, Fangraphs. Just make them aware of this new measurement that you have, and I think you're onto something. So, oh shoot, sorry, I don't have anything else to add. Do you?
Nope.
Okay, so
wrap it.
All right, well, that does it for this episode. Andy, you know what? I always forget to mention, and I should point out that this song that we play at the intro now, we've been playing it for quite a while, is that's you. That's you, man.
Yep, that's me.
I always forget, and then as I'm editing, I'm like, oh, I should mention that Andy plays that song. That's Andy.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's a good song. It fits really well here on our way out. Thanks for donating it, and we'll be sure to give you your royalties.
Okay, thanks. Wait for that check. Starting to hold my breath now.
Keep going. So this episode is brought to you by all of our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy our podcast and you would like us to help keep things going, you can check out our Patreon campaign. Patreon is kind of like Kickstarter. but it's on an ongoing basis. Pledging level started at $1, and there are perks at every level. You can go to patreon.com/IVMB to check it out. That's patreon.com/IVMB. So the Cubs host the Reds this weekend for a 4-game series. All of the bleachers are supposed to be open tomorrow, so that's nice, and it's heating up. It's getting warm here in the Midwest, so I would be a fan of seeing Rizzo and Bryant deposit a few baseballs in those fully open bleachers, especially against the Reds.
Okay.
So if you're going to the games this weekend and you might be worried about parking, then head to our site and click on the button on the right where there's parking information around Wrigley Field and different rates for different games. It's a parkwiz.com widget that we have off to the side. So ParkWiz is a service that allows you to find and secure parking around Wrigley Field ahead of time. So you don't have to drive into Wrigleyville and drive around and try to figure out where you're going to be parking, or worry about if you're going to get towed, or if you have the parking pass for the certain neighborhood or anything like that, or if your car is going to be trapped in after the game. You can click on the ParkWiz button on our website and find your parking spot. So we will be back on Sunday to discuss these games with the Reds. And if you're headed to Peoria on Sunday to see the South Bend Cubs and get a hold of us, let's hang out. Thank you for listening. And until Sunday, go Cubs. Oops. Sorry.
It's all right.
Oops. Cool. That was a pretty nice. I like these short episodes.
Yeah, me too. I think I would appreciate it too as a listener, just being able to kind of knock one out without having maybe like 15 minutes left, like an awkward amount left. I think it's easier to get it all listened to.
Yeah. And I mean, part of it is that we just get so many questions on our, the regular episodes. Yeah.